Okay, algebra kids, this is day 2 of 8-6. We did the notes yesterday talking about standard deviation and average and z-score, okay? So what they will do is, if you're looking at this page, this is like the cookie sheet page, but we're on the non-cookie side is where number 1 starts, okay? I'm going to do some of these with you, and then I'll have you do the rest of them on your own for homework. So this whole page will be homework, but I'll do some of them together with you. Kason. Okay, so the things that we need to look for at the top, they'll give you the information that you need, and then we need to fill out the bell curve. So the average score on the last stats exam was an 89, okay? A lot of times we go through it and label that as like X bar, okay? So I'm going to do that. And then a standard deviation of 3, okay? Now, standard deviation, we kind of talked a little bit about yesterday, but that tells you how spread apart your data is. So if you have a large number for standard deviation, that means all your scores are really far apart. If you have a smaller number, then your scores are right close together. A standard deviation of 3 is a pretty small standard deviation, really in general. But those are the two things that we have, and the 89 goes kind of here in the middle. And then we say that that has like a station 0, which actually means the z-score. So it has a z-score of 0. If I add 1, add 2, add 3, those are the z-scores 1, 2, and 3. If it has a z-score of -1, -2, -3, we'll subtract those and figure out what those values are. So adding 1 standard deviation, so I add 3 one time to get to this number, that is going to be 92. I think. If I add it again, that will give me 95. And if I add it again, that will give me 98 is the third standard deviation. So like if I'm looking at 98 exactly, like I scored a 98 on the test, that means my z-score was 3, okay? Down below, if I subtract, this would be 86, this will be 83, and this will be 80 exactly. Okay, so you're just adding, subtracting your standard deviation. Again, those are the z-scores. So if I have an 83 on the test, then I scored a -2 is my z-score. Okay, so going off of you guys had that bell curve that told you percentage-wise. Okay, so if you're looking at that big sheet of paper that I gave you, said something about, like it had like little dotted lines here, you know, for each one of these. Okay, and the percentages were 34% in the main halves, right? And you can kind of see that reflected in the area. So like this is a pretty big area here. This is a pretty big area here. Those are 34% of 100% would be underneath of the entire thing. Okay, so 34% in each one of those, 13.5% in each one of these, and then 2.4% is here. And 2.4% is here. And then this, going from here and on forever, never, never, would be 0.1%. And from here this way would be 0.1% as well, okay? So that's just kind of the breakdown of that bell curve, okay? So now it's just going to go through and ask you questions based upon where these numbers are. Hey, little boy, you got to be quiet. Okay, so first question, I'm going to do just a couple of these. I won't do all of them with you, but just a couple of them. Number 1, approximately what percent scored above an 89? Okay, 89 is going to be at right here, the middle state. All right. Oh. Yes, I'm putting it on. There you go. Okay, go take this back, please. Thank you. Okay, so 89 is the one in the middle there. Approximately what percent? Okay, now 89 is exactly in the middle, okay? And the way that this is separated is that if 89 is average, then 50% of the people should be above you and 50% of the people should be below you. So if you are on that 89 mark, 50% scored above you. Number 2 says what percent scored below an 89? That would also be 50%. Now you can figure that out if you like. That doesn't make sense to you. You would just add the 34, these 4 numbers together. Those are all the ranges above an 89 and below an 89. But that should just make sense at 50%, 50%. Okay. Then they ask you what percent scored below a 92%, what percent scored above a 92%. Okay. So I'll do this one with you, and then we'll move on down to one of the below ones. Below 92 would be everybody from here this direction, okay? So below 92 would be 34% plus another 34. I'm just going to keep a running total over here. 34%, another 34%, 13.5%, 2.4%, and 0.1%. Those are all the people that are below a 92, okay? So if I add those up, this is 68%. I think we did one yesterday where we added these three and that ended up being 16%. So if I combine those, that would be like 84% if I add all those together. Okay, 84%. Now, I probably could have done that easier, especially since number 4 asked above 92. Above 92 is these, and it's just those three added together. So you could have just added those three and found that that was 16%. And then this from here back would be subtracting from 100. Like these should add up to be 100%. And that gives you that value. So whichever way you want to find it, I don't care how you look at it. It might have been easier to find the above 92 rather than the below 92 and subtract, but there's that. Okay. Last one, let's do number 8 together because that one's kind of tricky. 7 is asking for just the percentage, but 8 we have to do a little bit more work on. So let's talk about that. There are 20 students in stats. Okay. Approximately how many of them scored between an 83 and a 92? Okay, so let's find the 83 mark. 83 mark is here. 92 mark is here. So we're looking at like these three chunks right here. So 13.5%, 34%, and 34%. Okay. So 34%, 34%, and 13.5%. I know that this is 68%, but if I add the other 13.5, that would be like, I don't know, 81.5, let's say, percent. I think that's what it is, 81.5%. Okay, so they don't want us to just stop at the 81.5%. They're saying if there's 20 students total, how many students would that be if 81.5 live between there? So to do that, if 20 is the total in my class, I'm going to take that times 0.815 because that's what it would be as a decimal. Okay, so 20 times 0.815, and I get 16.3 students. Okay, now this isn't like calculating error like what we did before where you always round up. I'm just going to round to the nearest whole number, so I'm just going to say 16 students approximately. So you will round to the nearest whole number rather than rounding up. It's a little bit different than calculating error, so you might have remembered that we always round up when we're doing error. So 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, those are all going to be kind of the same. Referring to this belt. Okay, all right, go on out. I will come help you. This bottom part is going to be some of the same questions. Okay, so here they're just 13. They're just looking for percentage. Here they're saying if there's 20 students, how many is that actually? So using those same numbers from up above here. Okay, all right, let's go to the cookie side. Cookie side, we'll do like this first chunk together, and then I'll let you do this bottom part, which is kind of the same thing. Like it's asking the same questions as what this one is. Okay, so 8.6 talks about like what happens if we don't have a value that's exactly one of these numbers, right? Like my z-score is not going to be exactly a whole number, right? If I'm at a 98, I have a z-score of 3, that's exactly a whole number. But what if I'm at 97, right? I would be like 2 point something, right? So we have to figure out what that is down here, and those correspond to what's called a z-score. Okay, we talked about that the other day. So I'm going to do some math. I got to get my calculator out, and let's see what we got. We've got 1263 is the average. I'm going to write that up here. X bar is 1263. And then a standard deviation of 117. So what I'm going to do is, that's my 0. I'm going to be adding 1, adding 2, adding 3, minus 1, minus 2, minus 3. And I'm going to figure out what those numbers are. So here we go. Let's see if I can get this to work. 1263 plus... Are you enjoying Twinkle Twinkle Little Star? 1380 plus another 117 is 1497. Kason, will you go out, please? And then add another 117 is 1614. All right, now let's start and do the bottom half. 1263 minus 117 And that is 1146 minus 117 is 1029, and minus 117 is 912. Okay, so there's that. That's what we're looking for. All right. So now they're asking us, what is the z-score for 1,000 chips? All right. So I'm going to figure out where 1,000 lives on this number line. And 1,000 is going to be like right below here. Okay. So if these correspond to z-scores right here, the z-score is going to be a little bit beyond -2, not quite all the way to -3. So I'm going to guess that it is, here's my guess. My guess is -2 let's say -2.2, let's say. Okay, that's what I'm going to guess. Okay, the formula for calculating z-score is you take your value, so x, this is your x, minus the x bar, which is the average, or the mean, I'll say, mean, and then you divide by the standard deviation, okay? So that's how you calculate what your z-score value is, all right? Let's do that. My x is the 1,000 that I'm looking for, okay? And then I subtract the average, which is 1263, and I'm dividing by the standard deviation, 117, okay? Let's see what I get. All right. And I got -2.25 if you rounded 2 decimal places. Our z-score is always rounded to 2 decimal places. So -2.25, that's what he would be. That's kind of what I guessed, -2.2. I should have gone 2 decimal places. But anyway, -2.2, okay? Z-score now for 1,400 chips. Now 1,400, is going to be, I don't know, like about here-ish maybe. So I'm going to guesstimate that that one is going to be like 1.3 or something like that, okay? So finding z-score, let's do, our number is 1,400 minus the 1263, and we're dividing by 117, okay? Let's see what we get. You're going to fall, honey. Get down. 1,400 minus 1263 divided by 117. Okay. I got 1.17. Okay, so I was a little bit off, 1.3, but 1.17, that's what I got for a z-score, okay? All right, now, this is something that we did not talk about yesterday, but I think you guys can figure it out, and we're going to do these two together, so hopefully this will help, all right? It says, if a bag of chocolate chips has a z-score of 2.25, okay? We're talking z-score. So 2.25 would live here. They're saying how many chocolate chips would it have? Well, if it has a 2.25, which lives here, it would have somewhere between this many and this many chocolate chips, but how many exactly is that, okay? Now, we have the formula for z-score, but they're giving me this number, and we have to find this number, all right? So we're just going to take this formula, what we had before, and we're going to just, like, rearrange it, okay? So 2.25, I want to go in for the z right here, okay? And I've got, I'm solving for x, so x goes here on the top, and that's what I'm going to be looking for. I'm still going to subtract the 1263, and the standard deviation is 117. So my formula looks a little bit different in that I'm not solving for this guy. I'm solving for the x value, okay? So that's what we're doing in the next two problems, all right? So what I'm doing here to solve is that I'm going to need to get rid of the 117 and get rid of the 1263, okay? So the first thing I'm going to do is multiply by 117 to the other side. Okay, and let's see, 117 times 2.25. I have a phone calculator is what I'm trying to go off of, so I apologize if I'm taking forever. Okay, so this comes out to be 263.25. Okay, and now that's equal to x minus 1263, right? That's what's left over here. And then the last thing that I have to do is add the 1263 over, okay? Add 1263. Okay, and the chocolate chips, the number of chocolate chips would be 1526.25. We're just going to round to the nearest whole number. So 1526 is what x is, okay? Which is what we guessed. We said it was a number between these two if it has a 2.25, okay? Last one, this has a z-score of -2.75. Honey, Please, go on. Negative 2.75 is going to live down over here. So it's going to have somewhere between 912 and 1029, probably closer to 912 for the number of chocolate chips in the bag. So same thing again. This number right here is going to be negative 2.75, and we're solving for x. Let me get him unfuzzy here. Negative 2.75 equals x minus 1263 all over 117. So again, we're going to multiply by 117. Okay, and you will take the negative also in there. Okay, so 117 times negative 2.75. You need to make sure that the negative is there, otherwise it'll give you the wrong answer. Times 117. Okay, so what I got here is I got this answer to be negative 321.75, and that's equal to x minus the 1263. Then the last thing that I have to do is add this 1263. I'm running into the next problem. Okay, so plus 1263, and I get 941.25, or just, we'll just say 941 chocolate chips, or round to the nearest whole number, okay? Which is what we said, 941 is going to be something a little bit bigger than 912, okay? So that's kind of how you do those. So 17 and 18, we didn't specifically do those yesterday, but they're not that hard to figure out, okay? Same thing for this part down below here, but I want you to do that one on your own. So fill out your bell curve. Your average is 7.5, standard deviation 1.25. Fill out these and fill out the rest of them on this back side that we didn't already do, and that's your homework. Okay?